Hello, everybody, and welcome to Non Sequitur News for June 23rd, 2025. Yep, I'm in the time machine again. Hopefully, for the last time. Depends on how much work MayorWatt has to do. Anyway, it is, what is it, Season 4, Episode 174. We're halfway through the year. Time is flying by. Today we're going to be talking about Zueing Zillow, Heart Newclearyork, Sonos Arc Ultra Wall Mount, Steam Next Fest Monday. Yes, it's Friday, but I'm in the time machine, so every day is whatever day I want it to be. Hytale was canceled. Cannabis in space. Amsterdam parking is on point. The Sculptor Galaxy, an EV factory tour lottery, and can't switch to mobile. Well, because the heat, but we'll talk about it on the other side of this. All right, so I am MayorWatt, and I'm usually here with the Sentient AI, but they're not available right now. And I run ohmTown.com, along with 7 podcasts that are available. Running from science to technology to society. That's what I actually talk about: science, technology, and society. Do it for a living. Do it here in ohmTown. Do it on the podcast over on YouTube and here Twitch. I stream to both platforms, so if you stumble across this video, feel free to hang out. If you want the show notes over on Twitch, you can hit !NSN and they'll give you ohmTown. We'll throw out today's articles in the order that we're going over them. It's a big wall of text in separate entries into the chat. So, but anyway, over on YouTube, it's formatted in the show notes. So go and check it out. So let's get into it. The very first article that we're going to talk about is over in Hatch Ideas, which is a show that I'm trying to launch about business transformation, strategic management, intellectual property, things like that, but all associated with business and businesses, not necessarily my stuff. But anyway, the article is titled "It's Coercion. Compass sues Zillow over its listing being banned online. Real estate giants Compass and Zillow could battle it out in court." Aaron Davis over at Entrepreneur put the article together. Compass and Zillow in court. They call it gatekeeping. Gatekeeping has become unfashionable as Gen Z wants to know the secrets of everything, from who's your surgeon to finding the perfect apartment. But the latter is becoming harder and harder as home prices are still high. Yeah, they're not still high. They're increasingly high. The average home in the United States is over $500,000 now. Like pre-pandemic, I think it was 350,000, something like that. Anyway, they say it remains well over 6% mortgage rates. In fact, May 2025 was the slowest month for existing home sales since 2009. Now, adding to the housing woes, 2 real estate giants are battling in court. Top-selling real estate brokerage Compass is accusing Zillow, the top-rated real estate website in the U.S., with approximately 160 million properties listed and 227 million unique visitors monthly, of being a monopolist gatekeeper and breaking federal antitrust laws. Who knew that if you owned a website, you could just do whatever you wanted, right? Apparently, that's not allowed. If you don't want somebody on your site, then apparently you're not allowed to remove them. Oh, what's really interesting is just recently I saw on a social media site, that people want to know more about the people that are impacting society. And somebody had offered up this idea of kind of like a reputation site, which I had actually launched some 20 years ago. But there was way too much friction involved and I just bowed out of it. Yeah. But if you do if you do things, good or bad, whatever they are, and it's impacting the public and the world around you, I have no problem with people, posting stuff that enumerates kind of just how great you are or just how horrible you are. But yeah, some people, there's a certain level of privacy. So if you are private, then I understand it. But if you are publicly disclosing things and doing things that are just great, then embrace it, right? If you want to not lean or have people lean on that reputation, then do it anonymously. But I don't know. It seems like some people, there's a lot to unpack in this little discussion here. But it's tertiary to this article. And that's kind of how non sequitur news works. There's a lot of knock-on interactions and discussions that take place. So they say in a free and competitive market, competitors' products and strategies should rise and fall on merit, not the whims of a monopolist gatekeeper like Zillow. Well, if Compass is so powerful, so big and great, why don't they start up their own site? You're leaning on the marketing of somebody else's efforts. It's like Apple and people complaining about having to pay 30%. Really, sell your product on a platform somewhere without Apple's help and try to get Apple customers to utilize it, and you can't. But there are people out there that want everything but they want the security and safety and access and everything, yet they don't want to basically pay for that other effort. They want it all. And they want somebody else to pay for it. So it's sociopathic. Anyway, Compass alleges that the Zillow ban, which they say in late May, Zillow put a rule into effect that it bans listings that have appeared elsewhere for 24 hours before going on Zillow. The company says this gives the buyers fair access to listings without having to get access behind a velvet rope controlled by one company. But they're literally telling you that it bans the listing. It's not controlling anything other than it's stopping somebody from posting something on their site if it's appeared somewhere else. That's not really exclusive access. You can put it on Zillow and then put it somewhere else, right? That's what it sounds like. Zillow put a rule into effect that bans listings that have appeared elsewhere for 24 hours before going on Zillow. So Compass alleges the Zillow ban violates federal antitrust laws, and the company offers private exclusives where Compass agents and the public can view its listings exclusively. But now they'd be banned from Zillow. Well, pocket listings, again, they want everything, but they don't want to basically play by the rules of the company that's providing them the everything. They say it's not competition, it's coercion, Rifkin added. Imagine if Amazon banned a seller for offering a product on their own website first. That's what Zillow is doing in real estate. Consumers should have the right to choose how they sell their homes. Yeah, and Zillow should have the right to not list something. And if they set up a rule, then don't go there. And if it pisses off enough consumers, then Zillow will take the hit. Market your stuff on your own site then. That I don't really see the problem there. At the heart of the issue is a simple principle. When a listing is publicly marketed, it should be accessible to all buyers across all platforms, including Zillow. Now say that with software. Kiss my ass. This is dumb. This is somebody wanting everything. And it's not for the consumer. It's for their own profit. Hands down, it's for their own profit. Let's keep going. The next article is over in Non Sequitur News. New York's getting a new nuclear plant. It's the latest signal that nuclear energy could see a comeback in the U.S. thanks to wide-ranging support from strange bedfellows, administration seeking energy dominance, tech companies needing more electricity, climate hawks on board with something that's different than coal. Justine Kalma over at The Verge put the article together, And yeah, New York Governor Kathy Hochul, I think is how it's pronounced, I don't remember ever hearing it, announced plans today to develop a new nuclear power plant, the first to be built in the state in decades. Everybody goes to like 3 Mile Island and others, but technology has changed dramatically. There wasn't a leak even in 3 Mile Island that actually got out in the public. So fears about nuclear accidents, like the partial meltdown at 3 Mile Island, they've blown that out of proportion. And conflicts over where to store radioactive waste have also bogged down the industry. Yep. But again, technology has changed. The Vogtle power plant in Georgia has become an example of the kinds of problems that have plagued nuclear power projects. It's the site of the first all-new reactor built in the U.S. in more than 3 decades after construction started in 2009. Vogtle Units 3 and 4 finally came online in 2023 and 2024, roughly $17 billion over budget. I don't think that's an engineering issue. I'd be curious what that is. So Meta and Microsoft and others are all involved with restarting reactor at 3 Mile Island. New York has a climate goal of slashing its greenhouse gas emissions by 40% this decade. And news had come out after this show, but well, I mean, I think it was on the 26th or something like that, that there's only like 3 years before we go above 1.5 C in global average climate increase, which is going to have theoretically estimated just absolutely ruinous climate issues, related issues. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, let's keep moving. The next article is over on the Mobile channel. Why is the Sonos Arc Ultra wall mount so hard to find? When Sonos unleashed the Arc Ultra upon the world in October of 2024, 3 years after the Arc, one of the first things that they wanted to know was whether they could use the original Arc's wall mount. After a bit of digging, they found out, yep, it's the same mount. Crisis averted, sweaty brow wiped. That's what they say. But the article over at Vice.com by Matt Janser put a different tilt on this. Apparently it's really hard to find. They say, hold up a minute. What about the same time the Arc Ultra was released for sale? The Arc/Arc Ultra wall mount began to grow scarce at retailers. For the similarly fed up, like the author, they've got a replacement. It won't save you any money over the official Sonos mount, but it's from Sanus, which is dangerously close to Sonos. I don't know how they're actually getting away. A quality brand that they've been using for mounting Broadway chorus line of TVs and soundbars for the past decade. Sorry, not year. Anyway, so why is it so tough to find aside from Sonos' own website where it sells for $80? Could they find one on Amazon? No. Walmart? No. Best Buy? On clearance and sold out. Likely meaning Best Buy doesn't expect to get them back. So B&H Photo has it in stock for $80, surprisingly. It's on back order from Adorama. So who wants to wait that long? They say shipping in August. I've got stuff coming in August. Actually, I have a UV printer. So you'll have to check back when we announce that more products that are going to be sold. And the official release of a game that I designed a long time ago, but there were certain requirements that I needed met and nobody could ever meet them. So anyway, so yeah, stick around, follow us. We'll announce when the game launches and when the other products launch as soon as I get everything that I need in place. But be sure to remind me too, because I get distracted easily. Anyway, Sanus lists the retail price at $110, and that's what you pay if you order it directly from Sanus. They don't actually say why this is apparently not available. They just kind of hint at it. I suspect that it's no longer pennies on the dollar for manufacturing because of overseas manufacturing. It's not domestic in the United States. That means tariffs are driving up the costs. And then domestically, in the foreign country, domestically, the prices are increasing because of tariffs and other impact. So I suspect, though, that it's entirely because of tariffs, and the economy is going through the roof because there are very few manufacturers compared to the number of consumers, because it's all been merged and acquired. Baby, go look at the consumer price index and the supplier side, and supply price index. Anyway, so they don't really go into it, but I thought it was interesting to talk about it. Why is a wall mount so hard to find? You could probably 3D print this thing. Let's keep going. The next article is over on the Mobile channel. Multi-Game Monday, Steam Next Fest demos continued, and a first for these articles, they say. But the article is over at vice.com. Anthony Franklin II put the article together. So they say, no, this time they're doubling up, starting with something different. This is Multi-Game Monday, isn't a preemptive strike against forgetting about Tuesday. So Absalom, yep, Sean hit this one, they say, for the first and likely only time they picked up a game Sean already highlighted. So Sean is another writer, author over there at vice.com. So why? Because they loved it. They loved it so much they thought it needed another go around 3 months later, given that he already got into the meat and potatoes of it. They'll just talk about their experience, especially given that he invoked the name of what is probably their favorite story ever in Lord of the Rings. This is a game called Absalom. I don't know where all it is. The video that's here is looks like YouTube, but it's a PlayStation logo in the top left corner of the video. So I think it might only be on it's from PlayStation, but this video is saying that it's on Steam as well. So Steam has some strange antiquities. You can wishlist that now. Aaron Mankey's Cabinet of Curiosities and Lore podcast kind of piques the curiosity of the author, apparently. They say, well, it found me this time. The second game from Bad Viking, Strange Antiquities, is a puzzle game where you help run a store that contains many occult-related items, and your job is to help customers that come in by giving them the item that corresponds to whatever their current need is. And boy, is that intriguing enough for me to get it. So, Strange Antiquities. There is a demo out for it. I've added it to my... Oh. What? I'm not logged in? That's weird. What? You must log into Steam to add an item to your wish list, but I am logged in. What the hell? It's even allowing me to download. All right. I guess I need to end... I need to close Steam and restart it, I suppose. So that's what I'll do. Yeah, we'll do it live. Why not? Why not, folks? All right. So they say, and I feel like I haven't even scratched the surface of the game just doing that. You play as the apprentice to thaumaturge Eli White, who runs the store. He makes a point to tell you that you probably shouldn't touch anything, and you definitely shouldn't go into the locked cabinets or doors. Well, it's a video game, so you got to do it. So let me do something real quick. Strange Antiquities. All right. Oh, and there's only 2 of them. So go and check out both of these. I think that they'll be a lot of fun. I'm really into the whole kind of store chill kind of... They call it like chorecore, but it's not really chorecore. I find Death Stranding 2 and Death Stranding more chorecore because you're just walking. But there's a lot of story there, and it's sort of base building kind of stuff. But anyway, let's keep going. The next article is over on WarCrafters. After more than 7 years of development with nothing to show for it, Riot cancels the Minecraft-inspired sandbox RPG Hytale and closes the studio making it. What's interesting about this is that maybe 3 years ago, I was talking with somebody and I said, I don't know if they were going to apply for a job there. And I said, I don't know if you want to do that. At least longevity wise, I'm not feeling it. And it's kind of risky, you got family, and your own professional, history, and look at that. So today the author here, writes a quote, "Today I shared some incredibly tough news with the Hypixel Studios team. We're ending development on Hytale and beginning the process of winding down Hypixel Studios over the next few months." Hypixel co-founder Noxie wrote in a cancellation notice, "This is not the outcome of any of us at Hypixel or at Riot wanted, but after years of pushing forward, adapting and exploring every possible path, it became clear that we couldn't actually close the deal on this." That's not their quote. I'm paraphrasing the end, because we truncate. We don't screen scrape. We don't grab all the content from the sources. We limit it and hard limit the content. So then you can visit the source. But we talk about it here in Non Sequitur News every day, and I'm playing catch up right now. So Riot acquired Hypixel Studios in 2020, but its anticipated sandbox RPG never materialized. It looked promising. There were a lot of trailers that looked like a lot of fun. It was first revealed in 2018, at which point it had already begun development for several years. And in 2020, the studio was acquired by League of Legends developer Riot Games, but a hoped-for release in 2021 was eventually pushed to 2023 at the earliest, and then pushed again. So the number of people being put out of work by the closure of Hypixel was not disclosed, but the studio's LinkedIn page describes it as a team of more than 70 globally. Let's keep going. The next article is over at RealityHacker. Scientists are sending cannabis seeds to space. Sarah Sinclair over at Wired.com put the article together, and it says here, the versatile cannabis plant could, some scientists think, one day be useful for lunar and Martian colonists. For now, researchers will subject the seeds to radiation in orbit and see what happens. Yeah, so launching from Vandenberg Space Force Base in California, the mission is hoping to be the first to send plant tissues and seeds into a polar low Earth orbit and back to allow scientists to study how biological systems are affected by the harsh levels of radiation found above Earth's poles. The information they glean, researchers hope, could one day help spacefarers grow crops on other planets. I think that we need to solve the problems here on Earth. We're not going to get anything useful from other planets at this point. So it's an incubator called MayorWatt inside a protective case, developed by Genoplant Research Institute, a Slovenian aerospace company specializing in orbital biological research. Sorry for the scratchy throat. I haven't spoken this much in a while. So, best known for producing the cannabinoids THC and CBD. It contains hundreds of different compounds, many of which are still being discovered, and effects of which we don't understand. And we don't even understand really genetics, let alone the presentation of, or expression of those genes fully. I mean, we do some amazing genetic research, but previous research has highlighted how conditions in space, such as microgravity and radiation, can influence plant genetics. And for Radizic, this is the key reason to send those cannabis seeds into orbit. I'm hearing rumors that hemp might get banned again, something like that. I don't know. That's really goofy. Anyway, D. Marshall Porterfield, a professor of agricultural and biological engineering at Purdue University, has been studying plant growth in space for several decades, and the impact of radiation exposure on biological materials during space flight is well understood, they say, quote unquote, through previous studies. It randomly causes mutations. Some of these mutations might turn up genes. They might turn down genes. They might knock out genes. They might disrupt the whole signaling pathway. As a result, you get variable responses in the biological materials that could lead to new genetically stabilized mutations that could then be identified and derived. So, yeah, I mean, if it wobbles positively, then yeah, sure. Okay. But who knows? And we really don't know at all. But let's keep going. The next article is over in FourWheelTech. Amsterdam's parking situation is on a whole other level. While a minority of people own cars, bikes actually outnumber the population of Amsterdam. Well, I think that would be great in some cities. Let me see something. So, hold on. I'm just doing a quick search. Chesapeake, Virginia, apparently is the closest to, oh, that can't be right. That's, what? Oh, in terms of size. So Chesapeake, Virginia is the same size as the Netherlands, but has basically a third the population. I'm just kind of doing a search here to try and see the population density. And I mean, if you go vertical and people, the culture basically is bike driven, then fine. But yeah, I don't know, that Chesapeake is kind of small. But people travel into a region further away in the United States than Amsterdam. But anyway, I hate comparing stuff because it just doesn't play out the same way. Like, people were talking about things here in the United States and then comparing it to some other country that has a similar perimeter or whatever that's being discussed in a certain area of the United States. And I'm just kind of aghast. Like, why are you comparing these two things? They're completely different in terms of topology and ideology and just everything. But for whatever reason, we really like to compare. So in Amsterdam, only about 40% of households own a car, but cars still line every street along painfully narrow roads, and the city only contains 432,000 parking spaces, according to Planetizen. And the city is more likely to remove parking spaces than build any new ones. By this year, Amsterdam hopes to hit 10,000 parking spaces decimated. That's hardly enough for the actual residents of Amsterdam. Yeah, there's almost 1 million people in Amsterdam. Should you actually manage to find parking, expect to pay out the nose for it. Parking in the city center runs 750 euro an hour, or around $9 at the time. So they say go native. While a minority of people own cars, bikes actually outnumber the population in Amsterdam. The city streets are continuously geared towards har, moving more people via bikes and walking than via cars, because it just makes more sense in the city, and it's true. So yeah, they say 780,000 people live in the city, and they own an estimated 881,000 bikes. Yeah, there's a lot more over at this article, but yeah, I don't know about parking situation is on a whole other level. Yeah, they're trying to issue cars in a city that has the ability to limit to pedestrian traffic. I have this idea for New York where the roads are basically two level, and on top it's all people, and on the bottom level it's cars. And so you find a parking spot somewhere in a parking structure that's vertical, etc., and then you go up to the walking level, and that's where everything is. Okay, let's keep going though. The next article is over in Technology Today. It's a different article from the one before, but they say it's from a different angle, but not too much of a different angle. Riot Games shuts down Hypixel Studios and ends development. It was set to be a cool riff off of Minecraft with more combat and RPG mechanics. But I think that Minecraft mods can facilitate all of this. Development is ending immediately, and the company will be shutting down over the next few months. Hypixel CEO Aaron Noxie Donaghy said in a decision that was when it became clear that they couldn't bring Hytale to life in a way that truly delivered on its promise. They say they don't blame Riot. He went on to say that the company behind League of Legends and Valorant offered the staff generous severance and is helping impacted employees find new opportunities. They contacted Riot Games for a comment. But yeah, I think it's a bummer too. The article, by the way, is by Lawrence Bonk over at Engadget. Let's keep going. The next article is over in FourWheelTech. Chinese EV factory tours are so popular that tickets are being given out in lotteries. Tens of thousands of people are signing up for a chance to get a behind-the-scenes peek at automakers like BYD. I don't know if it's BID. Is it pronounced BID? NIO and Xiaomi. Ryan Eric King put the article together. And it says here, factory tours are typically arranged on a one-off basis for potential investors, government dignitaries, and the media. Xiaomi followed this practice at its Beijing assembly plant when it launched the SU7 last year, but allowed 20 members of the general public to visit the site each month. The initial popularity encouraged the smartphone giant turned automaker to dramatically expand its tour capacity. However, the automaker was swamped with 27,000 applications, according to Wired. The tours are a display of modern industrial automation. Now, automakers offer tours in the United States, but they aren't embraced with the same fervor. Ford's River Rouge? Is that how that is? Hold on. Oh, yeah, I guess so. River Rouge? It's not Rogue. Anyway, plant is open to the public sporadically throughout the year. The historic complex opened in 1928 as the largest factory in the world and still produces Ford vehicles today. But we've been through this. We're not fascinated by this the way that somebody might be in another country where automation is being opened up to the public in a way that makes it kind of enticing to go and investigate if you've never seen it before. We just want inexpensive cars in the United States. That hasn't been the price for quite some time. So yeah, Chinese EV factory tours are so popular that tickets are given out in lotteries. The next article and the last one for the June 23rd episode is over in WarCrafters. It might be too hot to play your Switch 2 on the go this week. Yeah, it's been pretty hot in the United States. A heat wave is cooking much of the United States this week, bringing high temperatures to millions of people in the Midwest to the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast, and prompting health warnings across multiple states as record-breaking temps are expected to affect North America and Europe this summer. It may be the second hottest summer on record. Be mindful of playing your Switch 2. As a reminder, during the sweltering summer of 2022, Nintendo of Japan warned customers that the original Switch was best used in ambient temperatures. What were those ambient temperatures? We'll find out here in a second. Michael McWhirter over at Polygon.com put the article together. So you want to be between 5 and 35 degrees Celsius or 41 and 95 degrees Fahrenheit as temperatures climb above 95 in many states. It's worth noting that the Nintendo's guidance for Switch 2 appears to be identical. By the way, if you're holding a Switch 2, it's generating its own heat, and radiant energy is blasting that sheet of glass, and all of that heat is just building on it. So you can expect your electronic devices to heat up way beyond what you think is their ambient temperature. So even inside an air-conditioned car, just sitting on a seat, leave your phone, even with the air conditioning on. It doesn't, you normally don't have it on blast, but anyway, just leave it on, sitting on your car seat with the sun on it, and you won't be able to touch your phone. Anyway, ultimately your Switch 2 will probably be fine, even in excessive heat. It might shut down. For some reason, you find yourself venturing out into the sticky, sunny outside world with Nintendo console in hand. Pay attention to the system's temperature and watch out for overheating. And you can finish that P block. What? Speaking of P block, I'm gonna take a P block, and that'll bring us back to the front page of ohmTown.com, where all the news is aggregated. All news, no noise, because all the noise comes from this guy.